welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining our live stream at First Unitarian Church of Toledo. I don't believe we have any new announcements. We just hope that everyone in our community is staying safe, washing their hands, and staying connected. Let us know if you need anything, and be sure to connect with your church community.
And give me one moment
Yes.
while I call up a file that has already been lost. So, our opening words today they're Stay Together and Stick Together by Rod Richards. And for some reason, my computer has frozen for a moment.
Oh, bless. Let me pull that
So let me find this. This is live, guys. Hi, how are you? I turned off my Wi-Fi to observe the proper protocol for our cast, and I had to turn it back on, and I lost this. Here we go.
Got it.
Okay. Stay Together and Stick Together by Rod Richards. We who gather here in this tender and anxious and confusing time, we have been awash in a sea of information and misinformation and disinformation, and this information that we seek is simply so that we may make wise decisions about how we respond and learn how we hold one another when we can't hold one another, and decide how we can be when we can't be together. What is this we face? How best do we respond? And why is this happening? The why, the why, the why. And why do those who suffer so, suffer most, always suffer most from what we now face? Why? And what can we do for those who are most at risk, most vulnerable all the time, and now again? And how do we respond, and how do we hold one another when we can't hold one another? And how do we stay together and stick together and worship together when we can't be together? Yet we are, here we are here together.
And our chalice lighting this morning is Our Community Knows No Boundaries by Nancy Reed McKee. Our community knows no boundaries. We are not confined by the physical limits of walls or, for that matter, of what often binds us, restricts us, holds us back. We are freer than we know when we release ourselves and each other from expectations of what is needed for true community. We are here together in space. I see you, I hear you, I love you. And I light this chalice, a beacon of this community, holding us all together here, now.
And please join me in reciting the covenant of our congregation, which we recite every week. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And now for our opening song, we're going to sing number 347, Gather in Spirit, but this time, someone has written different lyrics for them. Pat LaManna wrote different lyrics with the approval of the author of the hymn, Jim Scott. So let's sing that. If you have your order of service, if you've downloaded that, the lyrics are in there, and they will also be on the screen that you're watching. So 347. Gather in spirit, shelter in place. Let's do what we can to flatten the curve. Wash your hands off and don't touch your face. This virus is something no one deserves. Gather on Skype, gather on Zoom, gather by phone with family and friends. Gather online, but don't leave your room. Let's all stay safe till this crisis ends. Gather on Facebook, not for too long. There's so many ways of passing the time. Take up crocheting, write a new song, read a good book, bake brownies sublime. Gather on Skype, gather on Zoom, gather by phone with family and friends. Gather online, but don't leave your room. Let's all stay safe till this crisis ends. Gather in spirit, pray for the scared, the sick and the poor, the lonely at home. Count all your blessings, reach out and share. Let everyone see that they're not alone. Gather on Skype, gather on Zoom, gather by phone with family and friends. Gather online, but don't leave your room. Let's all stay safe till this crisis ends. And now it's story time. This is Rainbows in the Windows by Jen Blosser. Somewhere in the world, there was a child and their grandparent sheltering in place, just like you are now. And they were really fed up, perhaps a bit like you are sometimes. The novelty of being at home all the time and doing whatever they wanted had worn off for the child, and they felt bored. For the grandparent, it was less a feeling of boredom weighing them down, but rather a sense of hopelessness. They watched TV for hours, though how many hours remained a mystery. They had stopped keeping track of time, really. The days all blurred together. They felt they had been doing this for so long. And then one day, when the child accidentally sat on the remote after getting more snacks, and the TV accidentally turned off, there was something new reflected in the black screen of the powered down TV. The child and their grandparent turned around to look out their front window and find the source of this reflection in the house across the road from them. There was a piece of paper taped in the window, and on that paper was a colorfully drawn rainbow. Well, this was something new, something unexpected and bright and cheery and new. The child and grandparent turned to one another knowingly, grinning. In a flash, the child retrieved a sheet of paper and crayons and began to draw a rainbow while the grandparent fetched tape. A moment later, they gazed upon their window with pride. Their rainbow shone back across the street, joyfully mirroring their neighbor's rainbow. What happened next was like magic. Every day, more cheerful rainbows appeared in more windows, all up and down the street. The child and their grandparent gleefully drew rainbows for each window in their home, watching their neighbors doing the same. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and all manner of other colors burst forth, seeming to shine through the windows, a cacophony of color. But the people didn't stop there. They continued to draw. Rainbows were taped to neighbors' doors, slipped into mailboxes. They were sent to care homes, to beloved elders who couldn't have visitors. Rainbows were left tucked under the windshield wipers of Uber Eats drivers' cars. They were left out for the delivery folks. People made rainbows to send to hospitals, scrawled with messages of gratitude and admiration for everyone working to help the sick, from the doctors and nurses to the custodial staff and maintenance workers. Stockers working hard in grocery stores found paper rainbows between cans of beans and corn, left waiting on the shelves where the toilet paper was sold out. Now, families on solitary walks around the city go rainbow hunting. The child and their grandfather like to do this, taking paper with them to write down all the places they see rainbows hanging. The empty school, the corner store, windows of brownstone homes, even hanging from balconies 15 stories up. They make a list of all the rainbows emerging, logging each place where the colors shine into the empty streets. By now, you've probably figured out that this story is really happening all over the world right now. Folks are coming together in spirit while physically distanced to lovingly reassure one another with brilliant colors. The rainbows are beautiful, and to see them alone is a joy, but they carry with them a promise. The rainbows shine as a reminder of hope. We are in this together. The storm will end, and we will come out on the other side. And here in Toledo, besides rainbows, we've seen teddy bears in windows. We've seen other drawings. There were even plywood Easter eggs at different houses for a neighborhood egg hunt in my neighborhood. And they're having some type of a scavenger hunt now with pictures of different animals. But for you, it's rainbows today. So for coffee hour time, if you're watching the service and doodling maybe, why don't you draw a rainbow to show us when we have our Zoom coffee hour after the service? And we will give you the Zoom connection information, both the long number for the meeting and the shorter number for the password. We will give those to you at the end of the service so you can join us for coffee hour there. And now let's have this little light.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
And now this is our congregational greeting. Even though we are not together in body, we are certainly together in digit, let's say. So why don't you use the chat function of YouTube and give each other a greeting. I have two questions for today. One is, by staying at home, who or what do you miss most? And by staying at home, who or what do you like best? So you might answer those in the chat as well.
I'm seeing some of those here if you'd like. I don't have, it's not on the Wi-Fi. I see Jarvis and Sandra. Good morning, Judy. Good morning, Chris. So nice to see everyone. I miss my choir. I miss all of the music ministry here. Melanie made it to church. Oh, good.
All right.
Great.
So now it's time for our anthem. And I'm asking Mickey to produce our anthem by calling it up on the computer, and she'll tell you about it.
So for those of you that do have the order of service, we'll be looking at that beautiful Zettner trio another week. I had some recording personal difficulties, so we're going to have a little blast from the past and listen to The Gathering. Here we are.
So now it's time for our anthem, and I'm asking Mickey to produce our anthem by calling it up on the computer.
The Gathering. So if you're making things at home, and if one of your favorite things to do is to record and send in lovely videos, we'd love to feature more people from afar.
And those were some familiar faces of a while ago.
Yeah.
Who we haven't seen since before we started staying at home.
That's true.
And we do miss our longer term friends, don't we? Please join me for a time of meditation, contemplation, and prayer. This is called Surface Tension, and it's by Tess Baumberger. Of course, there are people behaving badly during this pandemic, using it as an excuse to practice prejudice, to hoard, to blame, using it to divide and weaken us, cashing in on surface tensions for their own terrible benefit. The news daily shows these heavy things. In nature, surface tension gathers water molecules together so tightly that they form a sort of membrane across which light things can dance. Leaves, insects, the wavering sun. It is why rain falls in discrete drops and babies can blow bubbles. Surface tension makes life possible. It helps drops collect along subtle edges of pine needles or leaves, run down to water roots, then helps sap rise to nurture those same gatherers of sun and water. Bitter tannins in chartreuse mosses increase the tension so longer drops can form, held aloft by their fragile villi until they can be absorbed or used to foster new life. Here's the other picture revealed by this pandemic. People are reaching out in kindness and concern to acquaintances, neighbors, strangers, creating aquifers, revealing watersheds running through the tiny capillaries of human hearts, minds, homes, streets, and neighborhoods. Could the bitter tannins cause such large drops to form that we can scarcely hold them up until they can be absorbed, until we can use them to foster life? Let us open ourselves wide to gather them so we may send them to the suffering, the grieving, the caregivers, and all the workers who always were essential. Let us send them across all those spurious divisions, because there is a deeper, humbler, more beautiful truth. We deeply need one another, especially now. We can pull together across distances to form a surface across which light things can dance and which can nurture life. Let's observe 1 minute of silence.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. reading today is Pandemic by Lynn Unger. What if you thought of it as the Jews consider the Sabbath, the most sacred of times? Cease from travel, cease from buying and selling, give up, just for now, on trying to make the world different than it is. Sing, pray, touch only those to whom you commit your life. Center down. And when your body has become still, reach out with your heart. Know that we are connected in ways that are terrifying and beautiful. You could hardly deny it now. Know that our lives are in one another's hands. Surely that has come clear. Do not reach out your hands. Reach out your heart. Reach out your words. Reach out all the tendrils of compassion that move invisibly where we cannot touch. Promise this world your love, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, so long as we all shall live.
Lynn Unger is a Unitarian Universalist minister, and this poem was really the first to go viral when we started staying at home. So I'm pleased that we were able to have that. Here we are with our 8th installment of having a Sunday service with the congregation only able to attend by video. We'll be doing this for several more weeks, and we're in no hurry to have you, who are dear to us, compromise your good health by coming to church and risking exposure to the COVID-19 coronavirus. Your board and I have not had a decision-making discussion about when we will reopen, and I expect us to ease into that rather than restart everything at once. This is more serious than a snow emergency. And even than when a couple years ago, activities were suspended or moved for a few weeks because of burst pipes in our building. So maybe when we're ready, we'll let the outside groups that use our space come back. That's our 4 weekly Alcoholics Anonymous meetings and the Northwest Ohio Services Needle Exchange. Committees and other groups, including Chalice circles, could meet in person again at the church too after we've made the decision. And we haven't yet been asked by any of them when that might be. In the meantime, you're all welcome to reserve time on our church Zoom account to have meetings. Contact Carol in the church office. It's like reserving a meeting room. But for our larger gatherings, specifically Sundays, the religious education classes and spiritual adventures forum, and the 11 a.m. service and coffee hour, those won't happen offline in May, June, or possibly even July or longer. As I said, we haven't talked directly about restarting in-person Sundays yet. But as I've written in our Toledo Unitarians publications, many of you are in categories that carry more risk. Like me, you fall in the age range or have a disease like my cancer that is in remission. That makes you more vulnerable to not having the best chance against a new virus invading your body. And we know that everyone won't have the same thoughts about coming back at the same time. So we'll continue with YouTube services after people are back in the pews. And I'm already thinking about how we can do that a little less obtrusively than with the studio arrangement we've been using that blocks a lot of sight lines. I read in the Blade that the area United Methodists plan to resume in-person services in 3 weeks, and Ohio Roman Catholics in 4 weeks. We Unitarian Universalists will take our time and want more assurance that we can come together in health with masks available and enjoy, okay? So we'll have YouTube now with Coffee Hour on Zoom. We're giving you the Zoom connection numbers at the end of the service. Also, be prepared for longer change of coffee hour arrangements when we come back together too. It will continue not to be a good idea to share a potluck for many people to touch the same dishes and utensils. So we'll also have conversations about what we might do about coffee and food, such as having people as servers so you don't get your own food and drink, or considering pre-packaged box lunches, or having you bring your own food just for yourself and your family. We haven't made any decisions yet about the primary approach to coffee hour. Beyond the congregation for this pandemic progress update, I'm sharing a few things about the larger denomination. Our region's Summer Institute, kind of a family camp that has a week in July, was moved from in-person to online only. The Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association's Ministry Days, typically a 3-day gathering at the site of General Assembly just before the assembly starts. We'll still be gathering at the site, but that site is the computer screen. General Assembly itself will not happen in Providence, Rhode Island as scheduled, but will take place via the internet. And our congregation still has at least one opening for a delegate. So if you want to represent First Unitarian Church of Toledo in the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, let me know or contact our president, Sandra Kozik-Sills. I saw that other summer gatherings that attract Unitarian Universalists are also to be online only, including the Chautauqua Institute in New York, in upstate New York. Lakeside, a Lake Erie Chautauqua, is going to do some programming virtually, but still might have audience permitted events if you're willing to face that exposure. Yes, plans have been changed, but we're still here. For this pandemic progress update, here are the latest numbers I've found for COVID-19, the SARS-CoV-2 novel coronavirus that has changed our lives. 1,331 COVID-19 coronavirus cases in Lucas County, where we're located, and 119 deaths. 19,335 COVID-19 cases in Ohio, and 1,021 deaths. More than 1,160,000 cases in the United States, and 67,067 deaths. More than 3,440,000 cases in the world, and more than 244,000 deaths. That's a global pandemic on a scale none of us has experienced. And let's hope that when it is understood and treated, there won't be another disaster of that scale in the lifetime of anyone living today. Though, as you heard in my Earth Day sermon, the climate crisis could be the next in line. The first reported COVID-19 death in the United States was a man near Seattle, age 58, who died on February 29th. It would be somehow fitting that for us, this became fatal on Leap Day. But now test results of some people who died earlier have been positive for the coronavirus. So there are more deaths and cases than the official statistics have counted. We used the flu of 1918, a century ago, to give a scale. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention states that for the flu virus 100 years ago. It is estimated that about 500 million people, or 1/3 of the world's population, became infected with this virus. The number of deaths was estimated to be at least 50 million worldwide, with about 675,000 occurring in the United States. And don't let that influenza disaster, long gone now, influence a false perception that this is just another flu. No, it's fast acting, severe, and there are still people suffering from flu at this time. So it's not the new flu. There are fewer than 10,000 flu deaths in the US in the midst of this current flu season, and more than 65,000 COVID-19 deaths, those being in the last 65 days. 1,000 coronavirus deaths a day on average. Until treatment is found, the coronavirus will be so much worse than the flu this year. And as Jim Yong Kim wrote in The New Yorker, we seem to be hoping that something miraculous will happen, that somehow the virus will leave of its own accord. But especially when it comes to infectious disease, hope is of little use unless it's accompanied by a bold and vigorous plan. This is a disease that will be circling the globe for a long time. The virus could very well become seasonal, like the flu. And like the flu, it might mutate regularly, making it a moving target for vaccine researchers. Without a durable system in place, we may find ourselves trapped in a cycle of lockdown and stimulus, waiting and hoping with no end in sight. Are we making progress? I think so, with little thanks to the current presidential administration, in my opinion, and much appreciation to our state's governor, Mike DeWine, even though he did appear to bow to some political pressure and reverse himself on requiring face masks for workers and customers. As my wife Jewel noted, it could just be added to the already accepted no shirt, no shoes, no service. And if people are offended over taking health precautions, they can find other ways to shop. And part of the progress is continuing the precautions, because vaccines to prevent people's contracting the disease take time to implement. And other treatment is helpful, but not yet a cure. And be practical about it. Dr. Anthony Fauci, who knows infectious diseases, said don't wait for a particular number of tests to be done, but that, quote, you have enough tests to respond to the outbreaks that will inevitably occur as you try and ease your way back into the different phases. And we're starting to see warmer weather here, another phase, and people are wanting to go outside more, and that means more contact and more risk as well. There's one more aspect of progress that I want to address today, and that's personal progress. I hope you get more from staying at home than boredom, well-worn pajamas, and binge watching. Yes, I saw all of Tiger King and got free access to one streaming service so I could see new Star Trek series. If you haven't already, take up some things that you've wanted to, but haven't had the time or focus outside of this time imposed on you. Learn the piano or a language. Finally understand what your computer software is supposed to help you do, or draw. If you already have a hobby, go to the next level with it. Be ambitious. Remember that many don't view this time of isolation as a life gift, and that they're dealing with misery and need and that they need all the contact that these restricted times will allow. And also certainly remember that many of us don't get to stay at home. Some of us are in the labs, in hospitals, fighting fires, giving emergency medical care, in law enforcement, driving trucks, getting your mail and packages to you, making or delivering food to order, reporting the news, stocking grocery store shelves, or running cash registers. Or they're students struggling with a new way to learn. All of these people can easily feel as if they're missing out. This leisure time is for the privileged. Many at home have been laid off, filed for but not received unemployment, much less government stimulus checks, or are living with their abusers. Let's give them whatever good we can. Humanist philosopher Anthony Pinn wrote, "You can't theologize a virus," in Sacred Matters magazine. He pointed out, this viral challenge can't be contained or managed theologically. What is left to us is ethics that is comfortable with vulnerability and proposes no final resolution. Can I?
Yeah.
It is a mode. Okay, it is a mode of perpetual struggle. I'm sorry, there was a microphone problem. This viral challenge can't be contained or managed theologically. What is left to us is ethics that is comfortable with vulnerability and proposes no final resolution. It is a mode of perpetual struggle, a commitment to recognition of ongoing threats to collective well-being, threats that are both external and internal. Theological proclamations aren't answers that can withstand this threat. The answer is ethics, behavior that enhances life, a time to rethink the markers of healthy personhood and how this obligates us with respect to each other. Those were the words of Anthony Pinn. Let's do what we can, behave ethically, to lessen the panic aspect in a pandemic. Be good neighbors. Know that none of us is in our normal way. And give grace wherever you can. And you have good health. So be it.
Thank you so much. And in that spirit of grace, we're going to sing now together 3 verses of Wake Now My Senses. This is number 298 if you're following along at home. We'll sing verses 1 through 3. Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Deep with the web of creation.
Wake now, my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each pilgrim who quests for the true. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit and praise the sublime. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end.
Now we've come to a time of offering, and in this virtual space, we encourage you to visit our website at uutoledo.org. If you go to the Donate and Pledge page, you can click a button. Maybe that's something you're able to look at the monthly contribution, or maybe just a one-time if you were going to go get your cup of coffee on Sunday and you're making it from home now. Thank you for every little bit we receive, and I'd actually love to introduce Bonnie Rowe, playing off screen, I've Got Peace Like a River. Amen. Thank you, Bonnie. And now please join me in the dedication of our offering. We dedicate this offering to the support and good work of First Unitarian Church of Toledo in this community and in the world.
Coming soon for our Spiritual Adventures Forum next Sunday at 10 o'clock on Zoom. We will kind of continue this pandemic update with how are we surviving the pandemic with facilitator Sandra Kozak-Sills. And we hope a lot of you will participate and let us know what you're doing and how you're getting by. And then at the 11 o'clock service, 1 week from today, I will be speaking on Young Jesus, which gets us to the infancy gospel of Thomas and some other writing that did not make it into the official Bible, in which we look at stories of the childhood Jesus, the one in the Bible when he was 12 and went to the synagogue, and his parents, Jesus's parents recognized that he was not with the group returning to Nazareth, and they had to go back to Jerusalem to get him. But there are others in which Jesus is almost a superhero that you can see, with forming birds out of clay and them coming to life, and killing friends he was mad at and bringing them back to life, and that type of thing. So we're not sure about the veracity of some of these stories, but we'll look at young Jesus next week.
Please join us for coffee hour after the service. We actually have the password and a meeting code available at...
I did have it. Let me get there.
Oh.
I think I'm going to have to find it. Hold on one moment. We did have them in our PowerPoint.
This is a great time to thank Tim, and for Eric and for Rich, everyone that's helping right now. There's so much tech going on that y'all don't see, but this has been really fantastic to get to improve as we go over these 8 weeks.
Okay. So let's see here.
There we are.
Please make note of these numbers. Start tuning in. We will be able to admit you from the waiting room as soon as the service has concluded. But stay on. We will sign off of YouTube and stay on Zoom. So you guys, when the service is over, get out of Facebook and go to Zoom with this meeting number and that password that you see on the screen. And do join us for a little time of visiting together. We will continue with that. And what else do we have?
You have our closing
That's
words?
it. We're to closing words now. This is The Church Has Left the Building by Margaret Weiss. The church is not a place, it is a people. The church is not only a steeple above the tree-lined streets and cars. Rather, it is a people proclaiming to the world that we are here for the work of healing and of justice. The church is not walls built stone upon stone, held together by mortar, but rather person linked with person, linked with person, even virtually linked these days. All ages and genders and abilities, a community built on the foundation of reason, faith, and love. The church is not just a set of doors open on Sunday morning, but the commitment day after day and moment after moment of our hearts creaking open the doors of welcome to the possibility of new experience and radical welcome. The church is not simply a building, a steeple, a pew. The church is the gathering together of all the people and experiences and fear and love and hope in our resilient hearts, gathering however we can to say to the world, welcome, come in, lay down your heartache and pick up hope and love. For the church is us, each and every one of us together, a beacon of hope to this world that so sorely needs it.
For our sending of the flame, we'll sing As We Leave This Friendly Place.
We have words too.
Oh, I didn't receive those. What's the...
Here. For sending the flame, never has it been more true than now. We extinguish this flame, but the sparks within us remain alight. From each of us in our supposed solitude, the signals buzz and hum, sparkling through space one to another, connecting us invisibly but palpably. We are one, and from every window, our light shines. And now,
Let's sing. As we leave this friendly place, love give light to every face. May the kindness which
Make note of those numbers. We're signing off of YouTube.
Thank y'all so
Hold on.
much.
We're still on. I'm seeing stop live stream, but I'm not seeing in the YouTube. So I'll have to do this. I don't see why.